Hello, everybody, and welcome to Trent University's virtual winter open house. We're excited to welcome you to the sociology session. I'm Sarah, and I will be the moderator of this session. With me today, I have Parvinda Hira-Friesen, who is one of our professors of the program. And we're also joined by Megan Collins and Emily Screech, who are two students in the sociology program. We're excited for the path you have ahead of you and look forward to sharing all of the reasons why Trent has been ranked the #1 undergraduate university in Ontario for 11 consecutive years. During this session, you can ask questions in the chat, and at the end of the session, we will have a short question and answer period with the members of our panel. I invite you to add your questions in the chat box, which you can find at the bottom of your screen. This presentation is offered with closed captioning. To enable closed captioning, please select the 3 dots on the bottom right of your screen and select Show Subtitles. On our events page, you will see a few live chats happening today. Drop into the one that makes sense for you and have your questions answered, or type your question in the little chat box on the main page and we will get you an answer. All right, with that, we will get started with the presentation and I will hand the floor over to Parvinda.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you folks. I'm going to talk a little bit about research methods today, a mini lecture on research methods, and then we'll continue on from there. So just give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to do my mini lecture on social research methods because I teach both levels of it at Durham campus. Just wanted to do a quick overview of the courses that I teach. I teach the Intro to Sociology, both levels of research methods. I teach the data analysis class, and I also teach work and social inequalities. Okay, so a little bit about sociology in case you're curious or aren't that familiar. It's the study of human behavior in social contexts, basically emerging during the Industrial Revolution, where we had an era of massive social transformation. Some would argue that with COVID lately, that might still be happening right now. And then when you have that much of transformation happening economically and otherwise, it's accompanied by new social problems, okay, which is where sociology itself emerged from as a discipline. So research methods, we start with research design, which is a framework of the collection and analysis of data. That could be quantitative data or qualitative data. It's the general direction of research as a whole, okay, your research design, and it has to meet certain criteria in order to produce useful results. So you have to follow specific procedures and so on. With that, we also have to be very mindful of research ethics, which must be considered when you're choosing your research design. Okay, so ethics need to be addressed in the initial stages of a study and should be kept in mind at every phase of a study. Very important when we're talking about specifically about human subjects. The first priority of a social researcher is to ensure that people being studied are not harmed by their participation in that study. Extremely important when we are conducting research, and in this case, social research. There are certain policies in place in Canada, including the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. I'm sure you've heard this a lot with what's been going on in the news lately, with folks protesting vaccine mandates and so on. There's also this Tri-Council policy statement that is, it's the Tri-Council Ethical Conduct for Research Involving Humans, which is administered through research ethics boards, and there's an approval process. So every university, including Trent, has research ethics boards that you have to pass your proposal through before you can even start your research. And the reason these policies were put into place was due to inadvertent harm caused to participants. And also, the researcher may not recognize all the risks that may be affecting the folks that are participating in their program. A little bit about research ethics boards. Like I said earlier, all Canadian research requires this approval. They have to be obtained before people are approached to be participants. There's also an appeal process. So if your project does not get approval to move forward, you have the choice to appeal. These are also internal and affiliated with institutions, like I mentioned earlier, universities, colleges, government, private companies all have them. They usually consist of members from different disciplines, which is important, and then also require an external representative. Okay. There's also conflict of interest rules. So everything from funding relationships, who's actually funding your work? Is it a government agency? Is it a private institution? And also how that situates your research within that field. Okay, a little bit of background when you're conducting research, at least within the context of when we're talking about research methods, you want to identify what a theory is, and I can tell you short and sweet, it's an explanation of observed regularities or patterns, okay? Something to explain what's happening. Some points about the purpose of research. We want to assess the adequacy of a particular social theory. So all research in the social sciences is theoretically based. Gather information to create social theory. That could be in the qualitative social research methods. Understanding pressing social problems. In my case, I look at labor and specifically precarious labor among immigrants in Canada. And then also some folks use research to explore personal experiences. Okay, all of these qualify as purposeful research. There's a couple of approaches that I just wanted to touch on. Of course, they're quite extensive. If you took my course, you would understand that. We would go through them much more thoroughly. So a deductive method is what I myself use in my own personal research for labor and immigration. It's the most common approach to social research. Using deduction, you start with a theory or explanation for something, and then you go out in the world and test it. Okay, so I look at labor markets, so I look at good jobs and bad jobs, and I use Statistics Canada data to analyze them, applying modeling, statistical modeling to the data. And then there's inductive method, which is you start by gathering and examining data that's there, and then you derive a theory or an explanation for the data that you have collected. And the inductive method is more qualitative, where folks can go back and forth from the data and the theory until they reach theoretical saturation, or till they get no new information from the gathering of the data. Okay, when we're talking about research, we have to consider values. So our researchers' values can contribute to bias in research. When we talk about values, we're talking about your worldview. So how you came to be thinking the way you think, where you grew up, how you were influenced, what influenced you, what economic climate you grew up in, and all of these and many more shape what your value system is. So it affects your choice of topic, formulation of the research question, your choice of method, formulation of research design and data collection methods, the actual data collection itself, and interpretation of data and what you conclude. So your values inform all of these components of your research process. Okay, 3 different positions and values in social research that come about. Research should be value free, so that there should be sort of an objective approach to research. And the second one is research cannot be value free, but researchers should be open to and explicit about their own values. And then the third one is researchers should use their values to direct or interpret their investigations. I personally don't agree with the last one. I think that value commitment is a good thing for researchers to have if they are able to divulge that to their audience. Okay, so it's best to keep research as value-free as possible. Okay, we can't talk about research without bringing up politics. Sometimes researchers take sides. It could be, inadvertently they end up taking sides. We also want to talk about funding and the political thoughts behind that. Who gets it? Are there any strings attached? Research subjects and participants. Who gets access? So is it a representative sample? Are you giving everybody in the population you're interested in equal probability of being selected to that sample size that you're looking at, and so on? And this isn't always possible with qualitative research, but in my area, it is what would drive your research forward. And then your research findings are also affected by politics. So we want to, we'd want to look at what sorts of findings are acceptable to those who fund or publish the research. So it goes back to research being value-free. Okay, some practical considerations when we're talking about social research. The choice of research method should match the research question. I say this a lot to my students. You want to pick the method that best informs and answers your research question. A research question states the purpose of the study in the form of a question. So things like what social factors make people enjoy smoking marijuana, for instance. So that could be a research question. I look at, one of my research questions was new immigrants, are new immigrants more likely to be employed in precarious labor, meaning folks that have been in the country for 5 years or less. That's one of my research questions that I look at in my own work. Okay, when we're talking about research questions, they should be clear. And I talk about this in my classes. It should be researchable, which makes sense. We want to be able to conduct our research. They should be linked or closely related to each other, and allow the researcher to make a contribution to existing knowledge. And this is extremely important as scholars and academics. We must publish, and it's part of our job to publish our findings. And you want to contribute to existing knowledge, meaning add to it or create more questions so that other people can also delve into the area that you are looking at. Okay, so I thought I'd throw this slide in. This is a skills for your resume slide that I offer at the end of my classes, data analysis specifically, and the senior level research methods class, the SOCI 3151. So what I do is give this to students. They can actually just copy and paste this into their resumes as some stats skills that they learn in the quantitative portion of the research methods course. Okay, organizing data, ability to report descriptive statistics, and so on. This may sound godly goop to you right now if you're listening, but once you have taken this class, it'll make total sense. And these are the type of skills that many, especially at government agencies, are looking for when they hire folks for doing any sort of analysis, marketing, and so on. Okay. So that is me. That's the end of my little lecture. So I will hand it over to Sarah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was very, very informative and very useful. I was not a sociology major, so I just learned a lot. I know that for sure. So thank you so much. All right, Megan and Emily, I want to ask you guys a couple of questions. And I'd love for both of you to answer, but we'll start with Megan answering first and then go to Emily. What do you love most about your program?
Something I love most about majoring in sociology is how broad yet specific it is. Like there's so many different categories you can study, like criminology, you can go into the data, like data research and statistics. There's a homeless perspectives on homelessness class, like all these different kind of classes, which I've taken all of them. And each one, it's like you're learning something new. It's not like the same thing over and over again. It is actually something new, but you're applying the same knowledge to it. So it's all together yet different at the same time. And I find that amazing. Another part is, Parv actually talked about it a little bit, was that you get these skills like the SPSS skills, which you can apply in later in life, which can help you get a job. So it's kind of setting you up for your future because a lot of students in university question, where do I go from here? Sociology really helps give you those steps and show you where you can go and how you can get there. They really prepare you well for that, I would say. So yeah. I can hand it off to Emily now so she can.
So I feel the same way. There's so many different courses. Like I took sociology of education, sociology of gender, media studies, celebrity studies, and every single time you're learning something so in depth. You can go super in depth into one topic, or you could learn a broad knowledge of so many different subjects depending on what your interests are. There's the health specialization, the legal specialization. I think we just put in a criminal justice specialization as well. That's really interesting, and I found that really, it kind of made me want to stay back a couple of years and take a couple more courses, but don't really have time for that.
That's really fantastic. It sounds like from what both of you said that there are so many different options for courses that if you're interested in sociology and something else, you're able to really learn about both of those different topics within the one program. That's really fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. One more question for you guys. What advice do you have for a student who's planning to study sociology at Trent?
Do you want to start with me again? Just so I know.
Sure.
Okay, perfect. I would say something I would is if you have questions, ask them. Don't be afraid. I mean, it could be a large class, but honestly, the amount of people who definitely have the same questions as you, there's going to be. So it's better to ask the question, clarify, talk to your professors. It's the best thing you can do. I say really study your knowledge, do your readings. They really help you apply what you're learning in your class to tests, papers. It really helps it go smoothly. But yeah, my number one would just be ask the questions, don't be afraid, talk to your professors. That's the best thing.
I definitely agree. I mean, I have a lot of trouble, especially with theory, because sometimes theory is very dense and it's very heavy, and there's so many different theories. And it's good to ask early because you don't want to kind of keep going through your classes without developing the knowledge. And then it gets harder and harder to ask the question, right? So we have really small teacher to student ratios at Trent, and a lot of your profs are going to have office hours. And even if you're not available during their office hours, if you email them, they'll be able to make time for you 95% of the time. Like it's such an amazing opportunity to be able to converse with your professors. And I would say maybe try and take courses in the different aspects. Even if you think you're not going to love it, you might find a passion for sociology of education, or you might find a passion for sociology of pharmaceuticals, but you won't know unless you kind of dip your feet into every little corner of it.
Absolutely. And there's so many opportunities to do that. Sorry, Megan, you unmuted. Do you have something to add?
Oh, I was just saying, I 100% agree with that. That statement is, do you like, it is a broad, like there's so many characteristics, jump in all of them. You know, like you're gonna find things that you never thought were interesting before, and it's gonna surprise you. I'll let you continue now.
No, absolutely. And the great thing is too, with a lot of Trent's programs, you have space to take electives. So even if you want to major in sociology, but you think, I think this might be really interesting, say you're into psychology, you can take one of those courses and kind of really explore your interest and customize your degree to your liking. And I think that's one of the really great things about coming to Trent and studying is that you have so much flexibility in determining what you want to do and what you like doing. And Ravinder, can I ask you, if students want to be in touch, what is the best way for them to contact you?
Yes, you can just email me at parvinderhirafreezen@trentu.ca. That whole IT had their fun with my setting me up my email. So they put my entire name in there, put it all in, no dashes, at trentu.ca. And that's the best way to get a hold of me.
Perfect. I'm just typing that into the chat.
It's a lot of letters, my friend.
I know, I'm making sure I didn't spell anything wrong. Perfect. I believe that is hopefully correct.
It is, yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. Well, we will now move into our question and answer period. So if you have a question about sociology, please add it to the chat box that is located at the bottom of your screen, and we will do our best to get to everyone's questions. During the Q&A, we will be focusing on questions specifically related to sociology. However, there are lots of other resources available today to help you with your other questions. So please take a minute to explore all the sessions and chats offered by visiting our event page at trentu.ca/virtual open house/2022. All right, if you want to take some time to populate the chat with your questions, go ahead. I have one question while we're waiting for people to type everything in. Is sociology offered at both the Durham GTA and the Peterborough campus? Fantastic.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Great. That's fantastic. So no matter where people choose to study, they'll be able to study this program.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So Lauren has a great question. They said, I accepted my offer for honors arts sociology, and I'm really excited to learn in this field. I wanted to specify into sexuality studies after my first year. How would I navigate incorporating a specific subject of interest into my degree while still having a diverse education?
So if I could speak to this, I'm doing a minor right now in Indigenous studies, and I didn't find out that I wanted to do that until my second year. And so I had to kind of try and navigate it, but there was so much room for me to fit in an Indigenous studies perspective and all my courses. So something you could do is try and focus into a gender studies. I don't know if we offer a gender studies minor particularly, but we have a lot of gender studies courses, and we have a lot of gender-specific sociology courses. So it would be in the academic undergraduate timetable that you can look up all of the course names, and they have a little description of the kind of thing that's going to be talked about. And a lot of them have to do with gender and sexuality. So you'd be able to kind of contain that and maybe focus a little bit on gender and sexuality in your other courses on if you have broader opportunities for papers and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Another option that Trent offers is a joint major. So if you want to do sociology and gender and social justice studies, you could absolutely work with an academic advisor and plan your degree so that you're able to do a joint major with both of those programs and really explore all of your interests in there. One thing that's really great with Trent is that we have a lot of student support services. As I mentioned, we have academic advisors who are there to help you plan your degree and navigate your courses. We also have academic skills advisors who can help teach you if you've never written a research paper before, you can go to these academic skills advisors and they will help teach you how to do that so you can really succeed in your studies. So if you ever have any problems in your courses or ever need any additional assistance, not only can you reach out to your professors, you have additional support services that you can reach out to, and they can really help you with planning your degree, figuring out how to do certain things. And it's really an inclusive and welcoming environment to learn.
I also want to add that Emily was saying something about the academic timetable, and I do really recommend that because it's something to also look ahead. I know it might be overwhelming at first to think about like looking ahead at further years, but sometimes you need courses in order to be eligible for a second or third year course. And it's good to kind of like just peek. You don't have to like get in nitty gritty in the courses, but you can just like see, and if a course intrigues you, it gives you a little description. And if something intrigues you and you're like, oh, like I wouldn't mind learning that one day, it's a good idea to like see what you would need to be able to tell there. It's all in the My Trent page. It's very helpful. It's like I use it so often to try and plan my years out. I only have one more left, but still so useful to me. But yeah.
Absolutely. I popped the link in the chat as well to get to our undergraduate calendar, which has all of our course offerings currently for the 21-22 academic year. However, that is updated as the new academic calendar is provided, and it gives you a really great idea about what courses are available, not specifically only in sociology, but in all of our programs that we offer here at Trent. I highly recommend that, as Megan and Emily said, to go look through that and kind of read through the course descriptions and see what interests you. All right.
Just a quick point. You can also reach out to the prof teaching that particular course. Like if I am open, I have an open door policy for my office. If people want to come in and chat about a course that I'm teaching or that I will be teaching in the future, I have no problem. And I've had students reach out before and have had discussions with them of what is entailed in that course. So it's one option if you're interested in that.
That's fantastic. Great. Well, as you can see, the professors are always very, very welcoming and very willing to help you whenever you have any questions. Great. Well, it looks like we have reached the end of our presentation. I'd like to take a moment to thank the members of our panel for being here with us today and sharing their knowledge with us. This session has been recorded and will be posted to our open house webpage if you wish to review the session again or any of our other sessions taking place today. I'd like to invite you to come and visit our campuses. We're hosting in-person tours as well as in-person spring open house events. Register today to join us on campus for an event. There are lots of other great sessions starting soon, so I'll let you all get on with your day and go look at our website to see what other sessions may be of interest to you. I'm sure there will be quite a few that can be very, very helpful. Thank you so much for joining us and enjoy the rest of the event.